Hi students, Professor Melanie here. I'm giving you some feedback in a group setting through this video on some of the references that I've seen some of you using, and I wanted to go through these. So I've already corrected these. In this one, all of the words were capitalized, and we don't want all the words to be capitalized in the article title. So you'll want to look up, I'll show you in the course in just a moment, which words should be italicized, or which words should be capitalized. And then you do want all words that are the main words in your journal name. So global advances, the in and the and don't have to be capitalized, but in health and medicine, and that should also be italicized like it is, and then the volume should be italicized. The same thing with the next one. Ayurveda, that could be argued as a proper noun because it's a type of medicine. So that could be lowercase or upper. I would use it as upper, and then after the colon, which is punctuation, you would want a capital T. And then again, you want the main words, journal, traditional, complementary medicine, to be in capital letters. The Indian stays capitalized because that is a proper noun. As you look at the next one, Greece is proper noun. It's going to stay capitalized. There's a colon here. The would stay capitalized because it's after punctuation. And then Hippocratic is someone's last name, Hippocrates. So you want to make sure that that's also capitalized. The rest of this should be capital words for the journal name, and then this is missing a link, so there should be a link for this. If you look at the next one, this one is not a peer-reviewed journal. It's actually a blog, which you don't really want to use those because that's, it's not a peer-reviewed article. It's a blog. It's someone's opinion. So you would want to italicize, if pretend it's not a blog, you would want to italicize the article name, and Psychology Today is not a peer-reviewed journal, so that's why it's not italicized. So you have a little bit of difference between a peer-reviewed journal and then something like just Psychology Today, where you're going to a company website. If you look at this one, the C would be capitalized because it's after the colon. The rest of this would not be capital letters, which some of them were. This one, psychological trauma, just watch there's some extra spaces sometimes in when you copy things from a research generator or a reference generator. So there should be a comma, and then theory, research, practice, and policy. I made those capital words because those are words that should be capitalized in the journal name. And then here, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Sometimes I'll see students put the article name in the front, and then the date, and then the U.S. Department, and that's not how this should be. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services is the organization that is writing this particular article. Some students may use National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health. I'm okay with either of these as your author, and then you want to put the article in italics afterwards. So this would be acceptable as this is. In your Stat Pearls Publishing, there were no commas and periods in here, so I added those in. Acupuncture was also in the beginning, which should be over here, and then it should be italicized. So again, you always want your format to be author, date, article, and then source. And if you look at this one called Beats, I corrected this one, Frontiers in Psychology, and the 3 would be italicized. There were actual little stars there. So again, when you copy from a generator, make sure that you double check that. This is highlighted in yellow because it's from 2012. So we always want our research to be as much as possible used from the last 5 or 6 years. I sometimes extend it to 6 years because that gives you the most up-to-date information, right? We wouldn't want to look at something regarding medicine that's more than 6 years old. So at least 80% of your references should be within 5 or 6 years. If you have 1 or 2 that are from an older source, then I'm not going to be super picky, but all of your sources cannot be from the early 2000s or even in the 90s. So make sure you're checking into that. So this one is actually accurate now. I just wanted to make sure I showed you about the date. And then if you look at this book here, if you are using this reference and you don't have the book in front of you, then you should have a web link from where you got it from. So this is actually all accurate. It's, italicize the book title, and then you have the publisher, but you want to have the web link if you got it online. So based on what we've been going over in the beginning of this video, what do you see in this one that we could change? So I'll give you just a moment to think about it. And you're absolutely right. All of the words should not be in capital letters. So these would all be changed to lowercase. you would keep the D because it's after punctuation, and then this one is the name of a survey. So if you left this as a capital, complimentary all the way through, I would accept that because it's the name of a survey, so it would be a proper noun. However, if you made these all lowercase, I wouldn't necessarily be upset either, because sometimes it's, I would leave them capital, but you always definitely want to have the D after punctuation capital. And then your global advances in health and medicine, you can see that those are capital words in the journal name, and then they're also italicized along with the volume. And as we look at this one, as you look through here, what can you see that might be out of sorts? This is the same thing. This all information here, what should health systems consider when implementing complementary and integrative health? Those should be lowercase. The L would stay capitalized because it's after punctuation, and then so would Veterans Health Administration because that's a proper noun. So let's come down to this one. And I know it's hard when you guys are putting these in PowerPoint to have that indentation like the top part. So I'm not going to be super picky about that because I know it's kind of hard to format in PowerPoint for some. So if you want to do it in Word and attach them, that I will leave that up to you. So far this all looks good. How about we would need a capital A here, and then the rest of this would be okay. And then this Alendu, again, we've talked about this one. Medicine would be italicized. That's the volume 103, so that's correct. And then this one, if you look at this one, let's see if I can get this corrected here. As you can see, we don't need children and adolescents to be capitalized. We would keep the A capital because it's after punctuation, and then all the rest of this would be lowercase because it's not a proper noun of any sorts. The journal looked accurate. If you look at this one here, you can see that all of this is in proper format. This one here, if you look, these are the authors from our textbook. However, this person did this appropriate because it is an edited book. So these three authors, even though they are also the editors, did write this chapter. So you see that they're actually listed out of order from their editor status. But you can see that Snyder, Lindquist, and Tracy wrote this. The year, the source is the book, and then in all of this is the editor component, and then complementary and alternative therapies and nursing, 9th edition. That should actually be in italics. And then when you're doing a chapter in an edited book, just like I've been showing you in all of the particular weeks, you'll see that they're all written out for you if you're using any of those. It's written out just like this. There's chapters written. And then when you do this, you want to make sure that you put the page numbers for that chapter. So this is the chapter in the edited book, and these are the page numbers. Let's look here at this one. So you can see that this is all accurate. It is the article title, and then the International Journal of Yoga is the actual name of the journal. So that would be italicized, and also the 4 would be italicized because that is the volume. So just again, giving you some just quick, easy ways to look at some of these. I'm going to go on to this one. This Haley, this is all accurate all the way through here. Those are all lowercase. And then the Teaching and Learning and Nursing is a journal, it should be italicized, and so should the volume. Okay, so now I am in our course, and if you scroll down here, I've shown this to you in the course tour video in the beginning of the course, but we have the APA writing tips. So if you come to the APA writing tips and click here, you're going to see all of these different resource links. So the in-text citation checklist, if you pull that up, it tells you all of the things you should have for your in-text citations, which you, again, will want to have those on your slides with the bullets that they belong to. If the entire slide is one reference, then you could just put it at the bottom. But if you have multiple references on your same slide, you must put those with the bullets that they belong to, so that if you and I were writing, an article together, then we would get credit for those thoughts and those ideas that were shared by a student. You're also going to see a reference guide. This is really handy. It's what we just went over when I kind of showed you that. So this reference guide, if you're going to be using APA formatting, I would print this out, or I would save it and use it forever, because I actually have these printed out myself. So I wouldn't tell you to do anything that I don't do. This is a journal article. It tells you again how to put them. the last name comes first. It gives you all the instructions that I just did. Enter the year, capitalize only the first letter, etc. So follow these. It also has a regular book, and it also has a chapter in an edited book, which is how we set up the course textbook. So I'm back here again, and there is something called a reference examples. So you can click on the reference examples. This is also an amazing piece of information, and I use this all the time, and I have it printed as well, especially when I was working on my dissertation. So it has common reference examples. If you have a journal article, which is what we've been talking about, if you have an online magazine such as Newsweek, which is not a peer-reviewed journal, so you really probably won't ever use this one in your presentation, but it does show you. It also talks about print magazine articles, online newspapers, etc. So we don't want to really use online newspaper articles and blog posts, etc. But it does show you what those should look like. It also talks about an authored book, an edited book chapter, which we've already shared. If you're doing an online dictionary entry, it gives you that information. A report by a group author, which is where we were talking about the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Individual authors, press release, conference session, etc. So as you can see, it also talks about YouTube videos, even a song if you had to cite a song for some reason in your work at Drexel. So this is a fantastic reference, and I love this because it just gives you an idea of what to do with it. And then it tells you the section of the APA formatting book that you would look in to get this information. Going back to this, if you ever have something that doesn't have a piece in it, if you're missing some pieces, you can click on this table. It will share with you how to fix that, some grammar information guidelines. Again, there's some abstract keywords, and then there's also, this is a really nice one, which is creating a reference list. So it tells you in very easy verbiage what your APA reference list should look like. So it tells you there should be one, it tells you everything. So we're using references, we're not using works cited or bibliography. So follow through and read this. It tells you how to format it, etc. So it's a really good reference, and helps you with different elements, etc. So they're just really very helpful. And then I do have a video about finding peer-reviewed scholarly journal articles in Drexel's web base. If you don't know how to do that, it's a very quick video. It's very helpful. But that is basically how to find your peer-reviewed journal articles and also how to format them. And finally, if you go to week 8, which is the week that you're going to be submitting your final project before 11:59 p.m., you can scroll down and you will see that there is an example of the research project in here. Again, this person may not have gotten a perfect score on this, but it just gives you an example of what to look for. This is where you submit your research project, and then there is some more information, article on tapping, etc. So I've opened up this sample project, and you can see I've already given you feedback for those of you who submitted your work. I've given you some feedback. This kind of talks about, the complementary and integrative health, and you can see that they have a proper in-text citation on the slide. Ancient healing systems, again, they have different authors, so they have different authors that go with different slides, or different bullets. So all of this on India was by Tabish, this Germany was by Tabish, and then China's Tai Chi was from this particular article. And then as we go into CIH use in the US, if you're giving statistics, you definitely want to have a reference to support that, so an in-text citation. So again, this is probably not an appropriate citation in text because there's probably an organization that they should be using, but it was just giving you a good example that this should have a bullet with a citation after it. This one here, Black et al., so they're just showing you that there are different references used on this page. And again, the increasing popularity of CIH use, they have some older references here, which are not the best to use, but then they did pair that up with some newer ones. Why don't patients share CIH use? You can see that they put the name at the bottom of the page because they were letting me know that all of these pieces of information were coming from this reference, Black, and they just forgot to put a parentheses before and there's no comma after it all. So like I said, this isn't perfect, but it's giving you some information to give you an idea of what to do for your project and also what not to do. As you can see, this is, they have citations. They're slightly different. There's a different one here and different authors on the other bullets. So I'm not going to go through all of these. You can look at this yourself. It's in the course, but just to give you an idea of making sure that you have in-text citations on the slide, and to just give you an idea of about the appropriate amount of words in your bullets. So you don't want to have paragraphs, but you do want to make sure that you have enough information so that you're, showing that you have learned some information from your references and from the activity in the course. You can set these up however you want. This is at the bottom because these are all coming from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, etc. So that is just feedback based on everyone's general things that I noted. If you have any questions, please reach out. Now is the time to make sure that you have everything caught up to date in your coursework, and that you are, asking questions about the grades if you have them, because we're going into week 8 soon, and this is almost due, and then we're going to be almost finished with this quarter. So if you have any questions, please reach out to me. Thank you and good luck. I will enjoy seeing your final projects show up and enjoy looking at them. Thank you.